Hello artists, so today we are starting the letter portion of the 1 Point Perspective handout. So if you haven't done the boxes yet, make sure you do that first before you continue on to the back side. It will only help you with this. So let's get started. So let me zoom in here at the top and we'll talk about these three definitions when it comes to art. So 1 point perspective is drawing on a 2D surface and making a 2D surface look 3D. So in this area here for 1 point perspective, for the definition, you can just write drawing to appear 3D. All right, then the vanishing point, which we talked about yesterday, is where all the lines converge. And it's actually where all the diagonal lines converge, because as you know yesterday, not the parallel lines when you're trying to draw that box, it's just where all the diagonal lines converge. And then the eye level, that's where the vanishing point lies. So that's our little X here, or a little cross, and it's a horizontal line, or the horizon line. So let's go ahead and put horizon line. And again, the horizon line, when you think about it, when you think about looking out onto the horizon, watching the sunset maybe, think about the eye level and the horizon line are the same thing, and that means it's going horizontal. Horizon, horizontal. Alrighty, I'm going to zoom out just a bit. And so we are going to start on the F first. And so basically, we made a square into a box yesterday, and now we're going to make this flat 2D F appear 3D. So it's going to appear like this F was carved out of a box, right? We're also going to be shading the letters too, and we're going to do these letters so that you're practicing with a very straight edged shape or letter, sorry. One that has diagonals, one that has part curves, full curves, and straight and diagonal, okay? And then you should be ready to do your own name tag, your own name letters. And of course, I will be walking around and helping you when you get stuck. So here's our vanishing point. So I'm gonna draw that horizon line through that cross. And we can just draw an arrow and say VP for vanishing point. And let's draw a little arrow and we can label that HL for horizon line. Okay, and we're gonna start with this F. So what I'm gonna do is, just like the squares yesterday, I'm drawing all corners to the vanishing point. Unless for that corner, if it goes through the shape, I do not need to draw it, because I'm saying that these shapes are opaque, meaning you can't see through them, so they are not transparent, so I wouldn't see that back edge anyways, okay? So same thing goes for these letters. So this corner here, I do not need to draw a line through because it's crossing through my F. Okay, so each corner, I'm going to draw a line to the vanishing point. And sometimes it's easier if you hold the ruler at the vanishing point and just kind of move the ruler, or the top part of the ruler, to the corner that you need. And make sure you double check every time you go to draw a vanishing point line or a vanishing line that the ruler is lined up straight with the vanishing point and the corner. Because sometimes as you're moving it, this might shift and then that's going to be really off. Okay, now we have all these lines to the vanishing point. This one might be a tricky one because when you think about it, it will cross through the shape, right? But it doesn't cross through right away. So you will still see the bottom edge of this letter. So what you can do is instead of drawing a line all the way down, because it might get too confusing down here, I'm just gonna draw a short line. So once it hits the shape, I'm gonna stop. Okay, so I started it, and once it hit the black space here, that part of the F, I stopped. Okay, now I'm gonna continue. Do the last two vanishing point lines. Okay. All right, so now we're gonna give our letter thickness. So you can really start anywhere. I either start at the top or the bottom. For this one, I'm gonna start at the bottom. So I'm just gonna decide how thick I want the letter to be. You could make your letters really deep or relatively thin. But the same thing for the boxes. Remember when we lined up parallel with whatever depth or whatever side we were drawing, you line up parallel, drag it out parallel, draw a line in between those two vanishing lines. We're gonna do the same thing for the letters. So lining it up with the bottom, drag it out, draw a line in between those two vanishing lines. Okay, now I'm going to, and this one's cool because I can do this edge, which also would be this back edge too. So I line it up, drag it out until I hit or meet that corner of the first parallel line. Draw a line up, rotate, okay, rotate, okay. Now to find this edge or this, back edge, what you can do is we need to find this edge first. So if I take this out, let's see, it would stop there. So it would be where this line, right there. So basically, if I draw a dot where this converging line and this line meet, then I can extend this edge down to where that dot hits. So then I can draw that line there. If you want to make it a little bit easier on yourself, what you can do is, these are pretty even. So you could just notice where that one ends and then pull it out a little bit more because it does extend a little bit more than this edge. Okay, so now we have the 3D portion of the F created, but we're gonna want to shade, because for your name tag you have to shade the letters. So you have to pick where your light source is coming from. For the handouts purpose, the darkest part of the letters is the front. Typically students choose the front to be the lightest portion of the letters, but for the handout's sake, we're saying that the darkest part is the front. So then we just need to pick the brightest spot. So we're gonna leave that white and then, or light, and then we're gonna pick a medium value. So I'm gonna say the light is coming from the bottom. So all my bottom surface areas are gonna stay white, and my side surface areas I'm going to shade in a medium value. So side, side, this is also the side, and the side. Technically, because this part of the letter is casting a shadow or covering some of this, we could shade this a little bit, but for the worksheet's purpose, we're just gonna leave it like that, okay? All right, let's move on to the A. So same thing, from every corner, we're going to draw a line to the vanishing point. So let me make sure my handout's still good. Okay, so lining up. Move it this way so you can see. Okay, this corner would go through the A right away, so we don't need to draw it. Okay, this corner. All right, so this corner would go through the A right away, and so would this one, so we don't need to draw this one, or this one. Okay, so going back to this letter, because it is above our horizon line and to the left of us, we are seeing the bottom and the right side. So think if you move something up your eye line or over your eye line and to the left of you, you would see that right side and the bottom. So for this A, we're gonna be seeing, because it's up and over to the right, we're gonna see the left side of it and the bottom. Okay, so I'm gonna start with the side here. So I'm lining it up parallel, and then I'm dragging it out. Make sure, a lot of students will make this straight, and that's wrong because you don't want to straight line it. This needs to be equidistant with this. So I'm lining up parallel, dragging it out, and drawing a line. Remember, as I'm going, that you should be pausing so that you can work along with me if that's what you need to do. Okay, for this bottom shape here, I'm gonna make a connection here. I'm also going to come over because these are the same edge, so I can make my line here at the same time that I can make my line in between these two vanishing lines. Okay, so line it up with the bottom edge, drag it out till it hits that first corner or back edge, draw a line there, and then look at this shape, draw a line at the bottom there as well. Okay, so I get stuck here as to where do I need to start drawing this thickness here, but because I could draw this, now I can connect the puzzle over here, or connect the dots. So now I'm going to line up, now I'm doing this side of the A, so I can line up my ruler parallel here, drag it out, draw a line there. Okay, and now I just need the bottom. So I will line up with the bottom, drag it out till it hits this corner here. Draw a line. All right, so now we're going to shade. So again, the front is the darkest part. I'm saying the light is coming from the bottom. So that means all my side areas I'm going to shade. Shade a medium value. So right, there's the side. This center part is also this side of the A, so I'm going to fill that in. Bottom, bottom, side. And this is also the bottom. All right, let's move on. Make sure you pause if you need to either watch again, or if you want to just pause on what I've drawn and finish the rest of the A. Okay, let's start the R. So this is going to be a little bit more tricky because there's a curve, and even the curve has edges. So it doesn't necessarily have like right angle edges, but we want to pretend that if this was all block lettering, would we need to draw a line? And absolutely we would. So here, let's do all the corners first, and then I'll show you the rounded areas. So top corner here to the vanishing point. Okay, this corner here will not need a line because it goes through the R right away, through the shape. Okay, now we're pretending this is a square. So this corner here wouldn't need it, and either with this corner, because they both go through the R right away. However, this bottom left corner does need a line, and I'm gonna stop when I start to go through the letter. Okay. Bottom foot. This one won't need one because it's going through the R. However, this one does need a vanishing line. That was a little bit off, but I don't have an eraser with me. Okay, so if this was a rectangle, let's say, we would need a line from this bottom edge and also this bottom edge. So this one we won't end up really needing, but let's draw from this corner here. So what I'm gonna do is line it up with my vanishing point, and right where it hits that edge or kisses that corner, we will draw a line. And then it would need a vanishing point from here if it was a harsh edge, right? If it had a corner. So we can just kind of look and see where that edge would be, and that's where our shading would start to fade. So it's going to be a more gradual shade. or gradient instead of all one value and then all one value. So gradual, and this is where it's turning, so that's where it's gonna get much lighter there. All right. Let's see. Let's start. Let's start. Why don't we start with the top here? So, because this is a curve, I mean, I can make this portion straight because it is straight right there, but you're gonna go parallel. So you always wanna make parallel lines because it's matching this edge. So now I need to free draw and just have it curve along with the top of that R. Okay, so we have that edge there. So now this is the tricky part. Now we are finding where the back edge here, because we kind of get stuck right here. So if we look to find the back edge here, we can then see where the back edge of this R would be. So if I kind of sketch a line down here, and then I have my line corner here going to the vanishing point. Let's see if I have a lighter pen so you can see what I'm drawing. Okay, so basically, let's try this yellow. Does this show up? Yeah. Okay, so basically, I know I have this corner here. So what I can do is line that up so you can see it through the black lettering. And you don't have to draw this, you can kind of just eyeball it. But there's my back edge. And so now I do need to find out where this corner leads. So I'm gonna, from this corner to the vanishing point, draw a line just until it meets there so I know where that back edge is, which basically, now I can do it with pencil, gives me the back edge of both of these feet. So now I can line up parallel and drag it until it hits this, the meeting of these two lines, and that'll tell me where the back foot is. So drag it out, and then I'm just gonna lightly sketch here and also here because it's the same foot. Okay, so there's my corner there, and that tells me that the left side here on the left foot is going to end here. And that's also the side here. I know that was really confusing. So if you get stuck here, I can help you in person. Okay, so now we have this, which now shows us where the bottom of this R is gonna be, and that's gonna curve around as well. So it's parallel there. Okay, we have this bottom foot, and that needs to go parallel with this part of the R. So this is the bottom, or the back corner, and I'm gonna go parallel with this line here. Okay, that was probably the hardest letter that we have so far. Am I right? Okay, so now let's shade it. So we're saying that the light source is coming from the top now. So that means that the sides of the letters are going to be shaded. So I'm gonna shade this side. And again, this would be shaded as well. So maybe we just do the light shade here, just because I want them to be different, because this would be darker. But this would capture a little bit of the light, but it also would have a little cast shadow because it's on the inside. So here's the side of my letter, shading that a medium value. And then I would say this is medium, but it is going a little bit towards the light out here. So I'm gonna shade it a little bit lighter than this value here. And then as it goes into the letter, it definitely gets darker right in there, right in that crease. Okay, this is the side, but then as it goes up towards the top, definitely gets that bright white value. So I'm going to start off pretty dark here. And then as I start to reach this corner, I'm going to gradually let it get lighter. Okay, so if you need another, or if you need to watch that again, I would just rewind about 3 or 4 minutes. Okay, let's do the C now. So we have, again, curves, but we're just going to pretend if this was like a super boxy letter that this would be a corner. Even though it's a curved corner, it's still a corner and needs a line to the vanishing point. So I'll start with that edge. So remember, I'm lining up with my vanishing point, and then where it kisses the edge, I'm going to draw a line. Okay, this corner here, this corner goes through the letter right away, or through the shape, so I don't need to draw it. This bottom edge here, it's gonna go through the C, but not right away. So I'm going to draw it and stop before I get, before I get up into this area. So once it hits the C or the shape, I'm gonna stop. All right, other corner, same thing. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so with this bottom corner here, remember it has to be parallel. So if you draw a horizontal line, it's gonna look off. So I line up my ruler with the edge I'm trying to give thickness. I drag it out and then draw a line. So this is the diagonal line, this is a diagonal line, parallel to one another. Okay, since it's, oh, I should have mentioned too, these letters, because they're below our eye line, we're seeing the top, right? So it's like you're looking down at something. So we're seeing the tops of these letters, and then depending on if they're to the left or the right, we might be seeing some of the side. This one's pretty much directly below us, so we're just seeing the tops of the letter. Okay, so I'm going to give the top of this portion of the C some thickness right where it meets that corner there. All right, and then I need to give the top some thickness as well. So make sure it is parallel with this shape here. Okay, now we're saying that the light is coming from the top. However, the C is curved, right? So as it's starting to go away from the light, you definitely want to shade it a little bit. That's going to make it look more 3D. So I'm shading darker towards the sides. So the further it gets away from the light, the darker it gets. And then lifting up my pencil pressure so that it transitions to the white of the paper very easily. And I'm going to do the other side. I like to shade in small circles so that you can't see my pencil mark making. Alrighty. And then with this portion of the C, this is definitely the top tune. We're saying the light's coming from the top, but this is the side. So I can shade this a little bit darker there. And then this, I'm just gonna give a really light value because it's there's probably a shadow cast from the inside of the C there. Alrighty. Let's move on to the last letter here, the Z. This one's a little bit easier because it's all corners, so we don't have any curves. So here we go. And then this one, it's gonna cut through the Z, so once it cuts through it, I'm gonna stop so it doesn't distract from my other edges. Okay. This corner goes through, so I don't need to draw that. Same with this one, same with this one. Okay, let's start. Let's start at the side here. So I'm lining up diagonally, dragging it out, deciding how thick I want this letter to be, drawing a line. Okay, that's gonna tell me this edge here, and because this is an even edge here, I can finish that edge as well. So lining it up, dragging it out, drawing that edge, and also drawing this top edge. So I did that edge and that edge at the same time. Okay, that's gonna tell me the thickness of the top, so I can line it up, drag it out, draw a line. And it's also, this corner is also gonna tell me how thick the back edge needs to be, because this is all one box here. So I'm gonna line it up with the bottom, drag it out till I hit this back corner, and I'm not gonna draw a line through this area here, but I will draw it back there. Okay, that one's a little confusing as well, even though it was a lot of straight edges or harsh corners. So I would go back and rewatch that if you need to. Now I'm gonna finish shading it, and then we're done with this side of the handout. So the tops are catching the most light. Side is gonna be a medium value. So I'm gonna shade this side and also this side. Okay, this bottom area, it is catching some light, but as it goes into the corner here, it is also getting a little bit of a cast shadow from the Z. So I'm just gonna shade it dark in the corner, and then as it goes out, have it be a really light value. And then this is in between side and top, right? So I'm just gonna shade this a light value. And then as it goes into the corner, make it more of a medium value. All right, and there is our completed handout. Make sure you put your name and period at the top, and you will be turning this in to Mrs. Gallo for me to grade. Thank you so much.